The following Canucks show is only available in 720p because of Wi-Fi problems. Don't blame us. Blame our colleagues streaming South Park on the lunch breaks, which is a great excuse to interfere with a summer program about your favorite hockey team. You enjoy the show.
Want my body and you think I'm sexy. Come on.
Okay. It's not about my body. It's not about me being sexy. It's about your Vancouver Canucks. So today, we're going to project the sexiest possible lineup for the Vancouver Canucks on opening night. Let's go, baby. You're listening to Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for hitting the play button on today's episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, Canucks writer and part-time credentialed media member for Daily Hive Vancouver. And before we dive into the show today, we got to thank you for tuning in to Locked On Canucks. It's your team every day. And hey, guess what? You're here with us in the middle of July, baby. We freaking appreciate it, man. Well, while you're here, we got to tell you, make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, I like to do this at this time of the year. I like to look at the Canucks roster heading into next season. Let's make the sexiest version of the roster possible. We're going to do that today, looking at forwards, defense, special teams. But first and foremost, someone who's pretty damn sexy himself, Kyle Bowen. How you doing, brother?
What's up, baby? How's it going? Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Trevor Beggs and Kyle Bowen. Trevor Beggs looking like he has a computer from 2004, okay? Windows XP, you know the deal. 93, baby. Beggsy Bowen, again, Locked On Canucks. Comment corner, we'll get to that at the end of the show. Man, oh man, a lot of comments about Tom Willander, him being that guy. I can't wait to talk about it. Anywho, the lineup, the predictions. Already? Why not? It's the summer, baby. Let's have some fun. Trevor Beggs, let's get into it, okay? The sexiest roster. Now that's a strong word. It's a family show. And I actually just found out that one of our listeners watches/listens to this with their kid. So maybe we should get off of the word sexy for this episode and use the word, I don't know. Come on. You're a dad now. Do you want
best?
The best. There you go.
Most attractive.
There you go. Use that word, okay? The most attractive. Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bowen talking about the most attractive Canuck lineup using this batch of players that they currently have under contract. Let's see what you got, Trevor.
All right. Well, let's start with the forwards. And first and foremost, line one, baby. Everydayers know because I've been saying that the Canucks should have done this towards the end of last season. But on line one, I have Andre Kuzmenko, Elias Pettersson, and Brock Boeser. Brock Boeser. You got to do it, okay? The way to get the most out of Brock Boeser is to play him with Elias Pettersson, okay? And, you look at the underlying numbers, the JT Miller, and yeah, they create some offense, but they're just so horrid defensively. The Canucks are giving up so many chances with Boeser and Miller on the ice. I just don't like them as a pair. And, Talkett kept them together through a good chunk of last season when he was the main guy behind the bench. But I just think, load up that first line, get Boeser, Kuzmenko, and Pettersson on there. There's a lot of talent there. There's enough guys to eat. That's what I want to see on line one on opening night.
Wow.
Before I get into the rest of the forward group, tell me, where you think the best spot for Brock Boeser is, or do I have it right? Is that a sexy combo for you or not?
Is it an attracting combo?
Attractive, yes.
Take care of the children on the program, okay? You're a father now too. You bad influence, okay? You can't just be thinking about your own kids, okay, Beggsy? Come on. Selfish mother, father, right? Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bowen. Anyways, I think that combination can work if Brock Boeser is more involved on a more consistent basis. And I'm not just talking about offensively, I'm talking about his full 200-foot game. And there was this conversation, I believe, Rick Tocchet was having with Farhan and Harmon on the Vancast. And he was noting a couple times where he saw Brock Boeser. Maybe it was only just one time where Brock Boeser was skating extremely hard. And he was referring to the fact how Brock Boeser can become a better player, a way better player, if he's doing more of that. So I'm drawing that back to this line combination. They're going to need like Brock Boeser and his motor to be on another level. Do you think Brock Boeser has another step, not just in his skating, but his intensity? Because I feel as if you do need a third guy on that line to be can someone offer the same amount of intensity to that line that Pettersson brings so he doesn't have to do it or be the only one to do it out of that threesome? Yeah. So does Brock Boeser have another gear?
I think he potentially does. And, I'll show a Big Head Hockey here on Twitter. I think they had an interesting stat. Like it was players who had fewer goals in their first 100 games than Brock Boeser. And one of the names was Steven Stamkos. We're talking one of the best goal scorers of our generation. So, Brock Boeser is never going to be like the most obvious guy in terms of battling in the corners and being a hard-nosed, pain in the butt player to play against. But I think he's got another level for sure. And I think he's a smart enough hockey player to make it work on that line. And he's really succeeded with Pettersson in the past. Mm-hmm. When he succeeded with Pettersson too, when Miller was on that line, it's like Miller was a great playmaker, just like Kuzmenko is. So I don't really see any reason why, that trio of Kuzmenko, Pettersson, Boeser can't work. You don't necessarily have to have like a Beauvillier type or a Mikheyev type on that line. And in fact, it's important for the Canucks that they get the most out of Boeser because, again, because of the contract, the guy has almost no trade value right now. And, he wants to stay a Canuck. He's changed trainers, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. But it's important for the Canucks to get the most out of Boeser because they could really elevate their outlook for next season if you elevate Boeser in the lineup and play him with Elias Pettersson.
Man, oh man, that's gonna be something new for me to think about because I think for months and months I'm kind of at bed with either Mikheyev or Höglander or possibly Beauvillier getting that spot because of that prototypical third guy on a stacked offensive line. The Gensels, the Hymans, someone with high work rate to really allow those two to continue to do what they did last year. And as far as this combination goes, Boeser, Kuzmenko, and Pettersson, I think that if those three do gel together, you have the combination to possibly witness like one of the greatest lines in Canucks history, possibly if they're all hitting. Because Kuzmenko I know he's got a lot to prove this season, but what we saw in year one was way better than we could ever expect. And I think you're looking at a guy after not just one season, but if he does it again this season, you're looking at a player who could possibly be one of the most offensive skilled players in the NHL. Then you got two of those guys on one line. And yeah, there's a combination there to be had. Again, it's going to take some time. I want to see Brock Boeser do what do they do in the NFL again? The 40-yard dash. I want to see Brock Boeser do the 40-yard dash. Okay, for real.
Yeah, fair enough. And it's a lot of guys got to come to camp in good shape, but two other guys who need big camps are Höglander and Podkolzin. So how about this for a sexy second line, Kyle?
Okay.
Höglander, Podkolzin, centered by JT Miller. I'm loving it. Now, here's the caveat, okay? Obviously, Höglander and Podkolzin, they got to come in and they got to earn it. But I'm telling you right now, the Canucks are going to be in a way better spot in terms of their outlook for next season if Höglander and Podkolzin are going to come and bring it. Now, you'll see this as I get through the rest of the lines too. I didn't want to put Höglander, Garland on Beauvillier. I wanted them all on separate lines. I have a hard time seeing a good top six, a good top nine where you have small forwards like that all playing together. So I did want to spread out that wealth a little bit.
Okay.
And I also don't like Höglander in a bottom six role either. I think there's an expectation that he's probably going to be a bottom six player just based on what his agent was saying. But I'm just betting on Höglander and Podkolzin. Okay, come into camp, prove it, and give JT Miller two good young players to play alongside, and let's make some magic happen, baby. That's a sexy line right there.
Man, oh man. Okay, so Trevor Beggs already showing that he doesn't care if the kids are listening to this program, no matter how many warnings I give him. But that being said, it's all good, Beggsy. You know what? Do you? Don't listen to me, because right now you're spreading your optimism and your respect towards a different part of the youth, and that's the youth of the Vancouver Canucks, and that's wishful thinking, man. I feel as if it's borderline impossible to see that line combination, even if those two just bring it in camp. Just based on who else the Canucks have to feed on this roster. The Mikheyevs and the Beauvilliers. Maybe not so much the Beauvilliers, but I think it's important for this team to give a fair shot to Mikheyev based on what he did last year and what he put his body through to get a top six spot. And I think the Canucks could be in a good position if Mikheyev, gets back to full speed and has a top six spot playing with either Pettersson or Miller, just based on his pedigree in the NHL. That being said, I'm really, really curious to see how this bottom six looks because you're spreading that tenacity and that experience and a little bit of skill on every line. So what's this third line looking like?
Yeah, and I'll say this with the caveat, on today's episode, I'm dreaming a bit, okay? It's the
Of
most
course, man.
attractive lineup according to me,
Yeah,
okay?
I get what you're saying.
I'm taking the reins.
It's the fantasy, you know how it gets,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah.
Sometimes you just when you're thinking like this and you using the word, sexy. I know you get a little dreamlike. And to be honest, I encourage a lot of daydreaming. Okay, if you're listening to this today, take some time to daydream. Be a little delusional. Why not? Speaking of which, third line, hit us with it. Okay.
Yeah, I'll rip through the third line and the fourth line here. And what I was going to say there is that, coming up later this week, I do want to look at what I think the Canucks lineup will look like on opening night. And that's the less dreamy version. It's more so what I think the team is going to do. But right now, let's get into the bottom six. So I have Ilya Mikheyev and Connor Garland centered by Teddy Blueger. Now, Mikheyev and Garland played a bit of even strength last year, really good underlying numbers together. I think they're both smart, responsible defensive players. I think that's a line that can create some offense and be a top matchup line as well. And for my fourth line, I shafted poor Anthony Beauvillier here, but I have Beauvillier, Niels Aman, and Dakota Joshua. But again, you got a bit of offense on every line. You got some small skilled forwards on every line, some tenacity on every line. So
Okay.
I did really try to spread out the wealth here, aside from loading up the top line with Kuzmenko and Boeser.
Dude, okay, so I'll touch on Beauvillier just for a bit. Okay, 1 year left on his deal. Maybe putting a guy who's playing for a new contract on your fourth line isn't the worst idea, especially if you're trying to spread the wealth. You got to use, all four lines. Tocchet probably wants to use that. Maybe there's something there, for real. But that third line, you got me thinking, bro. Is that the only line combination that gives Canucks fans confidence that they could actually have a top 15 third line with Teddy Blueger in the middle because you have that play driver in Garland and again, somebody in Mikheyev who on one knee or 1.5 knees did a lot for a team that wasn't even in the race. Like you have somebody who really cares about hockey, he's intense. So again, with that combination, and again, Teddy Blueger as well, one of those guys who's on a 1-year deal, has something to prove. Bro, did you just make the only optimized chance at having, again, the Canucks having a top 15 third line if they put those three together? I think so, man. Let us know in the comments below because you got me thinking now.
I'm trying to get the people thinking here on Locked On Canucks. So I'm glad you like it, Kyle. I know you had some quibbles there, but on the other side, let's get into the defense and special teams quickly. But first, I gotta tell you, take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets, up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you could spend betting on everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball.
By the way, before we get back to the show, I got to remind you again that every episode of Locked On Canucks will be available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcatcher at 4:20 p.m. for no reason at all. Again, every episode of Locked On Canucks at 4:20 p.m. for no reason at all. Let's get back to the show. Okay. We back. Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bowen, doing it. Beggsy back in the office. We're moving with the punches, okay? One day, and we're getting there, right? 650 plus subscribers. Dude, we're getting closer and closer to getting Trevor the best Wi-Fi router of all time. No, it's just the truth. It's just the truth. Now, again, Trevor back at work. So I do want to ask you a question. Keep it short. Keep it simple. It's a family show. I think people like the dad talk, okay? You're back at work. I think the easy answer is 10 out of 10. But again, on a scale of 1 to 10, after spending all that time with your family, the Evolve family, how much do you miss your family? And how many times are you calling your wife today? Better question.
I haven't called her yet, but she did text me once with one OSHIT situation. So I wasn't trying to finagle that one, but it's tough, man. Honestly, and it's a weird summer for your boy Begsy. And Kyle, you know this, but I'll let the listener know too. I'll let you know. I mean, I just came off of 5 weeks paternity leave, so I'm home every day. Now I'm back in the office working, going home to see the family after work. And then all of a sudden, my wife and 2 kids are going to leave me for, 3.5 weeks in August. So it's a bizarre summer for me, man, but I just got to roll with it and make the most of it,
Oh man, and you will. You will. You know what you should do today? Come home today with a rotisserie chicken and a bouquet of flowers, man, from Safeway. Be an ultimate family man, okay? Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bowen. Let's talk more about the lineup and the special teams and the combinations. Baggsy, man, honestly speaking, bro, I think you hit a grand slam with that third line. You're really making me think. Let's see if you hit any more grand slams with the rest of your predictions.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if I have anything as spicy with the rest of the line combinations, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, I got on the first pair, I have Quinn Hughes and Carson Soucy, and everydayers know. Kyle and I talked about it last week. That's what I want to see on that first pair. I'd rather have Hughes and Soucy together. Soucy bringing that physical element rather than Soucy trying to figure out being a top 4 defenseman alongside Hronek, who I think needs a bit more help and support. So I have Hughes and Soucy, and then on the second pair, I have Cole and Hronek. And on the third pair, I struggle with this one, man. But in terms of sexy, okay, I went with Jack Rathbone and Tyler Myers. Now I had to have some sense of realism here. I didn't really want Tyler Myers on the team, but I see him being on the third pair, And Jack Rathbone and Tyler Myers did have some success together during like that 2020-21 season. Analytically, they did pretty good in the bottom pairing sheltered role. So Christian Willander was the other guy I went with there. But between Willander and Rathbone, I kind of think Rathbone would be the sexier name, because if Rathbone makes an impact and makes it onto the bottom pair, he's done something right this offseason, because I think he's kind of buried behind a few guys right now.
Dan, you still dreaming about a successful version of the Vancouver Canucks being aided by the likes of Jack Rathbone. I'm really curious to see or hear more about why you think he's still a player in this system outside, well, I guess with all these notions, right? You talked about Christian Willander. I think I said that right. Akito Hirose, you can add him to the mix. I think those 2 players, and even Noah Juleson, I feel as if those 3 guys are more favored in the Canucks community and the fan base than Jack Rathbone. So just explain that for me. Like, have you heard anything, or are you just, again, super hopeful? Or are you just, again, in the sexy phase, just fantasizing about, no, Jack Rathbone can still do good things, and in this case, do a lot for Tyler Myers. Like that seems like a daunting task.
Yeah, I think it's more in the attractive phase right now. But look, Jack Rathbone has the highest ceiling, in my opinion, of know the Hirose, the Juleson. Jack Rathbone's got more skill than any of those guys. I mean, what he has to do really is clean up the egregious errors and not try to play hero when he's playing defense. And not last season, but the season before, 2021-22, he was one of the best defensemen in the AHL. He looked like he was on the trajectory to becoming a full-time NHLer, and then. I think it's in part the Canucks botching his development and just having him be up here last season and sit in the press box for 2 months. I'm holding a hope for Jack Rathbone, but this is his last chance. I would say this is his last chance to prove it. I think the Canucks have, a bit of a glut right now. Like, even if you project their AHL roster, they probably have too many defensemen right now. So I could see Jack Rathbone, if he doesn't make the team, he's going to be on waivers. Maybe he's a guy that gets claimed. Maybe he's a guy that gets traded. But at the end of the day, I think this is probably last chance for Jack Rathbone on the Vancouver Canucks.
And you're hoping he's just doing push-ups and he's just reading books and he's intense. And okay, so you use the word egregious, and that word kind of scares me if I'm a Jack Rathbone fan or stan, because over the past 10 days, 2 conversations with Rick Tocchet, and he's used word like not with us, obviously. Come on, Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bowen, we ain't there yet. But, on 2 prominent shows in the market, he's been talking a lot, Halford and Bruff and the Vancast. He's used the word intelligence 9 or 11 times or 12 times or 14 times. You know what I'm saying? And when I hear words like egregious, I'm like, I don't know if he's, again, Rathbone is even in the mix, because I think there is going to be a level of, I know the saying, if you're scared to take a chance, how the F you gonna get rich. That being said, I think there is a lot of importance in making sure you have like safer players back there, especially if you're going to pair one up with Tyler Myers. Okay, so I guess you're going to talk about the PP1, right? We're running short on time, but I do want to ask this question before you give us the PP1, the PP2, or whatever. You brought up Beauvillier playing on the fourth line. Do you think he's going to have like an increased role in special teams? And like, do you think there's a possibility? I don't know the fancy stats on that guy. Being a prominent penalty killer for this team, like that's his role to strive in.
With Beauvillier, I looked into this when the Canucks acquired him, and he really hasn't played much penalty kill at the NHL level. So I don't really see a role for him there. I could see him maybe being elevated in the lineup. Obviously, if in my projection, like Willander and Pettersson, knock the doors off at training camp and earn that opportunity. But obviously, like if one of those guys is struggling, Beauvillier ends right back up in your top six. So
I don't know what show I was listening to, and sorry to cut you off, but I was listening to something and somebody said, I think it was Chris Johnson or Frank Saravelli. Okay. One of them said they feel as if you can teach a lot of players how to penalty kill / create the roadmap for players to become really good penalty killers / be useful for good NHL teams. And I look at the intangibles that Beauvillier does have, and I think that just in the long term, it's in his best interest to, be a really prominent bottom six / middle six type of forward. And I think for him to do that, like penalty killing is something that he should, read books on this summer for real. He should just when he's out there practicing, just going like from one side of the blue line to the next, just like diving, blocking shots, getting in the lane, just doing stuff like that. I don't know. I thanks for answering that question though. I had that in my mind, and I appreciate you answering that question, bro.
Yeah, and it's kind of bizarre to be honest with you because Beauvillier is considered a really good two-way winger in the NHL level. So despite having good, 200-foot awareness, he hasn't really killed a lot of penalties, which is kind of bizarre. But anyways, like let me know where you see Beauvillier here on my special team. So on PP1, I do have nothing really too fancy here. I have Kuzmenko, Pettersson, Boeser, Miller, Hughes. Okay, I have Kuzmenko down low. Maybe Boeser in the bumper spot to replace Horvat a bit. Although they might have to shake things up because Boeser's the right shot. But that's who I have on. Just get your 5 most skilled guys on PP1. Now on PP2, I said I wanted to break up all the small guys at even strength. I'm putting them all together on the power play. So Beauvillier, who's played a bit of center in his career, is the center on this power play unit with Willander, Garland, and then I have Hronik, and then I have Jack Rathbone on the PP2. Okay, the rare 2 defenseman power play duo there. And then quickly on the penalty kill, I'm just going to go through the duos quickly here. I have Bluger and Mikheyev as your first duo. Those are the 2 guys that are brought in to kill penalty. Like, let them just kind of cook there on that first unit. I have keeping Allman and Joshua together as a penalty killing duo. And then I have Pettersson and Podkolzin together. I want to see Podkolzin kill some penalties, okay? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think JT Miller can kind of sub in and out. JT Miller put up some points, but his underlying numbers were pretty terrible on the penalty kills. So maybe have him kind of in your back pocket to in spot duty, but don't have him as a regular penalty killer again.
I think there's room on that power play unit. That's the number 2 power play unit to feature Podkolzin as well, just because of the value of his shot and just experimenting / empowering, if he deserves it, situations where he could be more offensive more often. Come on, bro. You know the deal, man. People like scoring, dude. Once you scoring and you're that guy who's the first one on the train and dabbing everyone up, being the guy that everyone's coming to, like that instills confidence. And I think it's safe to say that those 2 guys, especially Podkolzin, I think they just need confidence to become AKA more reckless, right? More reckless and just be themselves, be more fluid and have more fun and play prominent roles again for this version of your Vancouver Canucks. Trevor Beggs, man, oh man, just doing some what? The constructing of this puzzle, man. Speaking of which, I've never finished a puzzle in my life, and I probably will never want to, okay? Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bowen. Let's cut to break. Comment corner on the other side. Okay. You back. Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bowen here on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every day. Kind of, sort of. Not really anymore, okay? Unless we're really feeling it. Okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you'll get episodes of Locked On Canucks all summer long up until, maybe September, I guess, when we have to go back to giving the people 5 days of Trevor Beggs and Kyle Bowen talking about the Vancouver Canucks. I said it, on Friday? I'm looking forward to Tuesday and Thursday being potential off days for this program, just to think about what else we can give the people. And the people are seriously the most important part of whatever we're doing here. I mean, I'm going to get a little emotional here, but Beggsy and I have been doing this again for a long time, and we're just having fun here. We're blessed. We're also like, I know Trevor's a full-time hippie. I'm like halfway of being a hippie as well. I understand this, okay? Life's not supposed to be taken that seriously. And I know there's steps to this and we want to get to places, but doing this with Trevor over the last years, we kind of realized that just to be alive and to be on this side of the world and given the opportunity to practice / put out our work to the people, to the world is sometimes good enough / great enough. So having all these people now listening to whatever we're doing is just super, super appreciative. And let's get it, love us or hate us, go Canucks go, right? It's not that deep. It's not that deep. Comment corner, though, right? My favorite part of the show. Let's get right to it.
It's time for comment corner.
Okay, comment number 1 will go to Luke. Okay, Luke, never seen him in the comments before. Luke, you could have named your son Luke, okay? For real. It could have matched. It could have matched, for real. Luke Beggs. That's one tough guy. Anywho, Luke said this, okay? If they didn't trade for Hronek, they could have drafted Benson at 11 and Willander at 17. Oh, damn, that's dark, man. That's dark. But next season matters too much. They needed Hronek. And I think on Wednesday or Friday, me and Trevor Beggs, we're gonna do what, a 45-minute documentary on Hronek. That's what we're doing, right? Because he's the most important part of this version / the next transition for the Vancouver Canucks. I think so.
Yeah. I completely agree. Hronek is arguably the most important player on the Canucks heading into next season.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was a dark shout out to the commenter. That was a bit dark, but I'm saying this right now. I don't think the Willander would have been there at 17. I think he would have been swiped up by a team somewhere in the mid-teens there.
Anywho, comment number 2 goes to Dirk. Dirk, I don't even know if it's appropriate for me to finish off that name, okay? He says, you guys rock Canucks and Bitcoin. What? We didn't even talk about Bitcoin. What's going on? Is that propaganda? Should I put that?
I think the bots are getting smarter.
Dude, that's something else, man. Propaganda here on Locked On Canucks. Then we had Shiraz talk about how his kid is asking if Kyle uses a voice changer. I always assumed, but now I am wondering. Okay, I think sometimes like when there's bad Wi-Fi and when Trevor and I talk over each other, and we're gonna fix this. Like we got Tuesday and Thursdays now to figure stuff out, move a little slower. Prepare for next season, the real start of Locked On Canucks. Again, though, when me and Trevor are talking over each other, something happens to my voice where it kind of like ducks. And that may trigger people thinking that I have something funny going on with my microphone. And maybe there is a voice changer, like a mod here. You know what I'm saying? Because of the disconnection there. That being said, you know the deal. I'll say it on the other network. Even if you follow me on TikTok, I told the story. On how this happened. Go check it out wherever you can find Kyle Bowen. A couple more comments before we get out of here. Canucks Clay, just a legend. Okay? Maybe come on. This guy, I feel like he should be in the Ring of Honor. When the Canucks win the cup? When the Canucks win the cup and we get all nice to each other and it's like this is not that serious, put Canucks Clay in the Ring of Honor, okay? He says, yeah, Kyle can say it, but Trevor can't, but he loved Trevor's face when I did, and he's referring to the fact that I brought up Archie Bains after one of us brought up butter chicken. And I know, 2023, maybe that connection is not one to be made, but I had to say it. Come on, man, shout out to Surrey. It is what it is, right? Canucks are becoming more flavorful, for real, just the truth.
Ooh, wow, nice.
Hey, man, we a global team out here, okay? Shout out to Surrey. And I'll also say this about butter chicken. I've been so lucky to have butter chicken in my life so many times. And my dad's a fantastic cook. And again, butter chicken has been a big part of my life for a long time. Slowly becoming overrated, okay, in my life. Just the truth. And then we had GL Rebirth give us a comment as well, saying, in Willander, we trust. And he's saying that I'm the guy that's, I'm paraphrasing here, but he's saying I'm the guy that's really manifesting Tom Willander becoming not just the best player available at that time, but possibly the biggest steal of the most recent NHL entry draft. Hey, that was another episode of Locked On Canucks, your team every day, 3 days a week. 3 days a week, okay? Up until it's go time. Till then, I got to say it again. We appreciate the listen. Trevor Baggs, sign us out. All right, do your thing.
Yeah, hey, 3 days a week, but we're still here for you, okay? And we're with you in your heart 7 days a week, okay? So shout out to the everydayers, the occasional listeners. And if this is your first time listening, oh man, welcome to the program. There not a lot of other hockey podcasts out there in mid-July, but hey, guess what? We're still here for you, buddy. All right, coming up this week, we looked at the most attractive Canucks roster today heading into next season, but I think on next episode, we're going to look at what the Canucks roster is actually going to look like on opening night, okay? Kind of get into the coaching staff's minds there a bit. And as Kyle mentioned, also want to dive into Philip Hronek, the most important Vancouver Canuck heading into next season. But for now, I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Bowen. And you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.